On today's show,
We'll break down Game 1 of the NBA Finals, which suddenly just got a little bittersweet.
Kyrie Irving is out 3 to 4 months with a fractured kneecap. Doesn't get much more bitter than that. With Kyrie done, are the Cavs done too?
And later, is a Miami Heat Dwayne Wade breakup a real possibility?
The starter starts now!
Good evening, Sweet World, and welcome to a finals edition of The Starters. Whether you're watching us on YouTube or on NBA TV, we're very, very happy to have you. I'm J.E. Skeets, and alongside me, as always, that's Tass Mellis.
Thank you for joining us.
To our left, the international man of mystery, taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Friends.
Lele.
And Trey Kirby, of course, still in Oakland. We'll actually hear from Trey a little bit later in the show. He's got some fun things in store. But first, we're breaking down Game 1 of the NBA Finals.
Don't use that word. Don't use that word, break, Skeets.
Yeah, I know. Look, I'm already bummed about this. LeBron James, though, scored a game high and a finals career high 44, but the Warriors dominated the overtime period. They earned the hard-fought 108-100 Game 1 victory in the finals. Great win. We are going to break it down. But first, yes, the Cavaliers, their worst fears are confirmed. All-star point guard Kyrie Irving will miss the rest of these finals. The team announced today that Irving has a fractured left kneecap. The injury requires 3 to 4 months of rehabilitation after the surgery. You see him there collapsing, sort of diving for the loose ball that he sort of let go there with about 2 minutes left in overtime. Grabbed the knee, hobbled back to the locker room. You saw him talk to reporters after the game. We were hoping for the best, but you could sort of tell with his head down there and almost choking up, holding back the tears, that it likely wasn't going to be good news. And again, this is the worst news for the Cavs.
And it's so bad for a number of reasons, especially for him. Coming out and performing the way he did, fighting through injury this entire postseason, and then fighting on the defensive end, which I'm sure he heard all the ridicule about not being able to be a good defensive player, coming out with a great couple blocks on Steph Curry. He was sensational in this game, and then to go down that way just must be so disheartening for him, and then for his team, obviously, because of the way they're playing LeBron James. He would have had to have been so great. They would have needed him to get by because he creates easily. Even if you play LeBron one-on-one, he doesn't need a double to go over to LeBron to create. He can create in any situation.
Coming into this series, there was some question about whether or not he was 100% healthy. I think he answered that in the first half. He was playing pretty well.
He looked great.
He looked fantastic. So for this injury to happen now and the fact that he's been ruled out for the rest of the playoffs, their task was already difficult for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, it's not insurmountable. It's not impossible because they still have LeBron James, but it is such an unlikely task now for them to be able to get out of this series.
Yeah, and look, we're going to get to that. I think you said it, though, Tass. It's even worse, this news today, because it would have been one thing if he had looked hobbled and he wasn't playing all that well. This was the best we'd seen Kyrie Irving play in a long time.
Yeah.
It really was. It was the healthiest he had looked in a long time. He had that explosiveness there, picking up a steal, going the fast break, finishing with that sexy left hand. Jumper was falling at times. Defensively, he was locked in.
Yeah.
4 steals, you said, a couple of blocks there, a game-saving block, really.
Yeah, this one
Absolutely.
with his left middle finger. I
Yeah.
mean, he barely got a finger on that, but to trail Steph, to be able to contain Steph, I know, Steph went off for his 26, but still, I mean, Kyrie was phenomenal. Have we seen him that good on the defensive end? I can't remember the last time.
Team USA that was the most locked in he's been prior to that. I mean, this season he's certainly improved his effort and his energy, but that game last night was perhaps his best defensive performance of his career at this point.
So really, realistically, do the Cavs stand any chance of winning 4 of the next 6 games against this dominant Warriors team without Kyrie Irving? Because Matthew Dellavedova is now going to come into the starting lineup.
Yeah, Lee mentioned, you said they have LeBron.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 4 out of the next 6 is possible. But at the same time, they got through the Eastern Conference with a banged-up Kyrie.
Yeah.
Coming into the series, because Steve Kerr is so committed to playing LeBron one-on-one, you got to have guys who can take their guy off the dribble, and Kyrie is that guy. If you don't have him now, how can you possibly beat them? I just don't see it happening.
LeBron can't win the championship by himself. He can't. He tried to do that in 2007, and it didn't work out. What was different is that this year with the Cavs, he had Kyrie Irving. If LeBron is Batman, he had a bit of a Robin there, and it was like,
sure.
Okay, he gets some help. It's a possibility. But now without him, without no Robin, it's again, one guy just can't do it. And especially, and we're going to get to it, the way the Warriors have decided to play LeBron, I think wisely so, and just going ahead, playing one-on-one, and try and take away everyone else. I just don't know how they can do it.
I mean, the Warriors' defense all season has been fantastic, and last night it was just as we expected, the way they played LeBron. But that's the thing, now LeBron doesn't really have that other guy who can create for himself. J.R. Smith, he can hit a shot. Iman Shumpert, we know he can as well. Dellavedova has been good during the playoffs. But to see this team perform to that level now for 4 games out of possibly 6 is just so unlikely, given just how good Golden State has been all season long. I mean, they'll make adjustments if they need to. Their offense is great. Their defense is great. LeBron must be looking around right now just thinking, what can he do to somehow pull a rabbit out of a hat?
You wished for JR to have one big game before the series with Kyrie there. Now you got to wish for a couple.
You do.
Yeah.
And I guess the silver lining, if you want to look at a silver lining, is now you know what you're getting here. Now you know you're not going to have a banged up Kyrie in Game 2, so you know what you're running with. As a team, you're running out of the locker room. You know Dellavedova is going to be starting as your point guard, and he's fared well in his 2 starts. Obviously, that was a different time against the Atlanta Hawks.
Yep.
They're 2-0 with Delly in there. They're 4-0 when Delly's played 30-plus minutes in the postseason.
There's your silver lining, I guess.
Yeah, so, hey, he's going to grind against Curry, but, Curry is up for the challenge to be alongside Delly and not to allow Delly a 17-point game like he had against the Hawks. Curry's going to be there.
Yeah.
As much as Curry's ridiculed for his defense, I think he'll hang with Delly, no problem.
In the 10 minutes, the 9 minutes you saw Delly in Game 1, he did next to nothing. And I thought you saw the way, again, it goes back to how they're playing LeBron, where a guy like Curry is told to, hey, get up on Dellavedova. Get right in his grill. Don't let him dribble. There's no space for a guy like that, and he needs it. I mean, he's not really going to be able to get the ball and create his own points.
No.
He needs to be a bit of a spot-up shooter. LeBron draws a double. They find a guy like him, and he can knock down a shot.
Yeah.
It's going to be different in this. And again, he didn't score a point. He had 3 assists. He was a minus 13 when he was out on the floor in limited minutes. This is going to be a whole lot to ask from your Aussie mate there.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did it in Game 6 against the Bulls. But no, the thing is as well, though, what it does for LeBron is basically means LeBron's going to have to spend a lot of his time playing point guard as well. So he won't be able to go down and post up like he did in Game 1. He will have some moments of doing that. But basically, he has to freelance on offense, kind of like we saw Blake Griffin do for the LA Clippers in that round against the Houston Rockets. LeBron just has to come down and decide, well, I'm either going to score or I'm going to penetrate or I'm going to somehow find a guy like JR or Shumpert and they're going to have to score. But honestly, for 85% of the possessions, it's going to be a LeBron shot or him getting into the paint and dropping it off to Mozgov or something like that. He's not going to be able to stand on and get any rest on defense.
Yeah, if you know
offense.
Watching LeBron though over the years, you know that he's going to try and get his guys going, especially after a performance like Game 1, 44 points, so many isolation plays. I think he's going to follow up with Game 2 where he's going to look for these guys to help out. Are they going to help out? That's a huge question mark. They're still going to play on one-on-one. But I think you're going to see him come out in Game 2 on Sunday looking everywhere to find guys. That first quarter, I don't know how much he's going to shoot in that first quarter. I feel like it's going to be a limited amount of shots, and he's just going to hope that these guys get into a nice flow in this team. Hey, he's got to win 4 of 6. He needs help, so he's going to look for these guys to help him.
How strange was it at times in Game 1 that the Cavs offense, it was go to LeBron either on the block or give the ball to LeBron around the three-point line and let him back in. And no help was coming, so you try and take either a Barnes or a Clay or an Iguodala, who we'll get to. It was sort of wild to watch at times. It was 4 other guys just waiting to see if any help would come and see if they would get the ball, and he would find them. But, of course, it didn't happen.
And towards the end of the game, you could see it was starting to wear on LeBron. He just didn't have that same lift. And the Warriors are saying, if you want to settle for that jump shot, you can do it all day, even though he hit a couple. But you saw the Cavs as well. Their strategy was to obviously control the tempo. Most of the time they brought the ball up, they were only just getting over halfway. It was just getting around 17 or 16 seconds left on the shot clock. That was obviously a ploy to make sure that the Golden State Warriors couldn't get out in transition, turn the ball over and score a lot.
This is his 5th straight finals, but such a different look with him out there. It's odd because obviously moving into his 30s, you'd think he'd be a similar player to what we've seen the last 4 finals with the Miami Heat, but it's just so different the way he's stepping out and just trying to own the floor by himself rather than trying to get everyone else involved. And I wonder how much that changes now with Kyrie out.
Do you think fatigue came into play in this game with LeBron and even the Cavs in general, because they have a very shallow bench? I mean, they scored 4 points over something like the last 14 possessions of this game when you're looking at the end of the fourth quarter and, of course, into overtime where they really did nothing except get a gimme layup when the game was over.
Yeah,
from
basically
LeBron. They're
0
only 10
points in overtime.
It did, and the problem with that was no one else was able to establish any sort of a rhythm with anything. And you know that JR, as we've mentioned, he's the sort of guy who needs to feel the ball. He needs to jack up a few of those, sometimes not the best shots in the world, but you never know with JR if he gets hot. He can hit 3 or 4 of those in a row. And then all of a sudden, that does change things for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But they weren't able to do that last night. I think David Blatt's strategy was, LeBron, we're going to you. And the Golden State Warriors were happy for him to do that. Scored 44 points and they lost.
But still, you got to give some serious kudos to Steve Kerr for hanging with that strategy.
Yeah.
Because everybody in the arena, I'm sure, was holding their breath as LeBron James had an opportunity to win this game right at the end. I know everyone in the Twitter sphere was claiming that, hey, you got to go double LeBron, you got to go throw another body at him. But a big reason why the perimeter guys couldn't get going was because Steve Kerr stuck to his guns, just like he did against James Harden in the Western Conference Final, and kept one guy on him. And that's what worked for this possession. Andre Iguodala has seen this move before. A step back to the left. We'll show it to you in a sec how LeBron won a game in the Oracle last season.
I thought that Shump shot was going down, by the way.
Shump had a great look at it, and it was just.
Man! Every time I see it, I keep thinking it's going to go in.
And LeBron, like you say, Taz, that's a shot in his repertoire. He's taken it before.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps you would have liked to see him get a little bit closer, but he's made that. He said he's made it. He felt confident going, got a good look. But Andre Iguodala, his long arms, you just don't underestimate how much of an impact that has on him, on his sight, and just getting that release too.
I mean, he has made that shot right in Andre Iguodala's face before, as I mentioned last season. So, Iggy was fine with him taking a step back to the left, but this was an even tougher shot.
Yeah.
But again, a step to the left last season in the Oracle, right in Andre Iguodala's face. But the great thing about watching LeBron and everyone just saying, you got to go into the post, you got to go into the post. Sometimes you're reminded that this guy is not a machine. He is also human. He cannot hit every single shot. He does get gassed. He only hit one of his last 6 shots, and that one, again, a layup with no one around. This guy, it's impossible. Like, have you ever seen a guy in NBA history that's 6'9", that goes into the post every single possession of every single game? He's human. It happens. He did get a little exhausted, and I think Steve Kerr and the Warriors played it very well, but from the Cavs' perspective, they did have a chance. That one shot, and we're talking about this game very differently.
And then it's even weirder because either LeBron hits that shot or even Shumpert hits the offensive rebound and then the shot, and then we don't go to overtime, and then maybe Kyrie Irving doesn't get injured. It's one of these what-if games. A couple things. Iguodala, he talked about it after the game. You said it. He saw it before. He had an idea what he thought LeBron was going to do.
Yep.
He guessed right. He was right there, and it was a tough shot. He made it difficult. We saw so many times. I loved this because we talked about heading into it. They would just go way under the screen. You saw Green there. You saw Barnes do it there. Any sort of screen that would come to LeBron, hey, just go way under it. Keep him the guy with the ball and take away all these other guys. He wants to pass it. Make him shoot.
Yeah.
He's going to tire out. It happened. And one other thing, you said about Steve Kerr sticking with the game plan of playing him one-on-one. It was never more clear and a little more almost surprising when Klay Thompson got matched up on LeBron a couple times in the fourth quarter, and LeBron bullied him.
Yeah.
Scored 3 times in a row, something like that, in close proximity, and he stuck with it. I think some coaches would have panicked there because the Cavs got up a little bit. You might start going, okay, maybe we got to start getting the ball in his hands, have someone else beat us. But he stuck with it. Iguodala was then the cover, and it worked out in the end.
Another reason you don't double is because their weakness, the Warriors' weakness, would get even weaker.
Yeah.
Offensive rebounding.
Right.
You go double, those offensive rebounds, which they got 13 of, probably would be like 20 or something like that.
All right, look, we got to take a break. Lots more still to break down from Game 1, so come on back. We'll talk a lot more about Iggy, and we'll get to the MVP, Steph Curry. A quiet 26. Come on back, you're watching The Starters. Welcome back to The Starters, continuing to break down Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Now, look, the Kyrie Irving injury aside, I want to know, do you think this was the Cavs' best chance at winning one in Oakland?
Yeah, it sure feels that way. But I still think there is a possible chance to get a Game 2 in Oakland because the Warriors want to start pretty slowly. It's happened with them. It happened in the Houston Rockets series. They just get a little too loosey-goosey. They take some bad shots. That on a break, Draymond Green should not have been taking that. Now you see Draymond Green yelling at Klay Thompson. Draymond Green was just amped for this game.
Pumped up, man.
The nerves were just a little too high, and Klay Thompson as well. taking some bad shots. It just shouldn't have happened. And then an Iguodala situation where he got into the lane. You could have had a layup. Nah, I'll pass it. Ends up in a bad shot. They made bad decisions. They're known to do this. They gave up game 2 at home to the Memphis Grizzlies. The Rockets almost got one of the first 2 in Golden State. They get better as the series goes on.
Yeah.
So I think there still is a chance, although that one obviously was a great one for the Cavs, there is a chance they could get game 2.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, it's a great opportunity. It went to overtime. I mean, 5 good minutes of basketball, and maybe they walk away with this win. Or a shot from LeBron drops, and they get the
2
game
shots,
win.
yeah.
But that was the perfect start for Cleveland. They get that double-digit lead. The Warriors, like you said, took some bad shots. Were shooting less than 30% in the quarter. And the turnovers, again, some brutal ones. Green trying to force that. That led to that gorgeous Kyrie layup on the other end. Jeff Van Gundy lost his you-know-what when that happened. He loved that play. But like Festus Ezeli just falling in bounds, giving it away. This happened. I think, though, I look at it the opposite of, I think the Warriors take care of business here. They shore this up. I don't think they'll be as sloppy. I think the jitters you talked about going into the game 1, that no finals experience, that was going to come into play. It sort of did. They did look a little nervous. They won't be as nervous in game 2.
Probably not. And now, especially without Kyrie Irving, they know that there's less of a threat offensively against them. But the thing is, they still have to go out there and do it, So there is still some pressure. None of them have been there before. So, LeBron's been down before too in the finals, and he's come back to win the championship.
Yeah.
So, things aren't looking great for the Cavaliers. But at the moment, there's still a chance for them if things go right. They need a lot of things to happen for them. One of them, of course, is the same sort of play from the Golden State Warriors. They need to miss those shots, be a little bit sloppy, and the Cavs have to somehow pounce on that.
Yeah, you need to also hope, if you're the Cavs, that Steph Curry has a worse or even equal game. He didn't even have a great game 1, and it's still amazing. And this is what, I guess, happens when you're the MVP. He has a quiet 26. He hit big shots.
Yeah.
But he's going to have easily a 40-point game in this finals, even more so now with the Kyrie Irving news. As great as and gritty as Dellavedova is, he is just a matchup nightmare. They put him in any sort of pick and roll situation, and he can either hit the step back 3 if he's got Mozgov or Tristan Thompson on their heels, or he can get to the rim. I mean, he's gonna. I would lock it in that this guy will have 1 or 2 40-point games.
Well, he might not if they blow out the games.
Oh, right, unless they're up too big in the fourth
He's
quarter.
sitting in the fourth.
Yeah, he might be resting in the fourth, getting ready for next season.
But the Splash Brothers go 5 of 15 from 3 in game 1. They still get the win.
The thing is with Steph Curry is you are shocked when he doesn't knock it in every single time. He can get it off so quickly. Yeah, I mean, we saw it there with Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson was playing good D, moving his feet, getting ready, getting anxious, getting down in position. And Steph Curry, it just takes less than a second for him to just shake, maybe take a little step back, move his hips, and bang, the shot's off and it's in. And you can't hope that he's going to miss 5 or 6 shots in a row because it just won't happen.
One thing I hate about this Kyrie Irving injury, we joke about, maybe Steph's getting ready for next year, sitting those fourth quarters for next year. I don't want this to diminish or devalue what the Warriors have accomplished because people are already starting. We learned about this Kyrie Irving news recently. People are already starting to put an asterisk
that's ridiculous.
on this season. There's no way you can do that. There's no way. This is a 67-win team. They did get a couple some injury help, with Tony Allen, Mike Conley going down in round 2 with the Memphis Grizzlies, Patrick Beverley, Donatas Sabonis going down in round 3.
That's the playoffs. That happens. I mean, you can
there's
go
been
through
lots of
every
injuries.
season.
There's a ton of teams that have had injuries.
89 Pistons, the 91 Bulls, the Lakers in 10, the Celtics in 08. They all had an injury to the other team. You know what? Those franchises don't care, and nor should they, because that is the playoffs, and that's what happens.
This is the start of something special with this team, no matter what happens as far as injuries go. 67 wins is 67 wins. A championship is a championship. Forget the asterisk.
Podium game for Andre Iguodala. I know we talked a little bit about his defense on LeBron, but offensively, this guy brought it too. Went 6 of 8, hit 2 threes, so he had 15 points. He had 2 sort of those, in a way, those sort of game-changing dunks that at least gets the Roracle going bonkers. The one with the beautiful steal and the fast break. I mean, what a game from a guy, and I know it's been talked about a lot, like a guy that went to the bench, who was a star, to some extent a star on an all-star on a lesser franchise, sort of lost in NBA obscurity there for a lot of the casual fan at least. Kerr tells him, hey, look, you're going to help our team if you go to the bench. If you're our 6th guy, and maybe not the 6th guy like a Lou Williams or a mold like that where you come in and score. You come in, you play great defense, you take the best offensive player on the court. you do the small things, the dirty things, and we're going to be a better basketball team with Harrison Barnes like in the starting lineup. It's pretty impressive. I'm almost happy for a guy like Andre Iguodala to have this podium game.
He said it was difficult for him to accept that role at the start, but now they're winning, they're having success. He understands why Steve Kerr asked him to do that, and he understands now his impact on the game. And when you've been around the league for as long as he has, especially with the Philadelphia 76ers, missed the playoffs a lot of those years, he now sees he's basically got one hand on the trophy. It's so worth the sacrifice for him to say, okay, I'll be now a role player on this team, and a very, very effective one.
And we talked about their poor start. I mean, they were sort of rushing things. They were amped. Iguodala, I think, brought that veteran presence off the bench and kind of calmed things down. And also on the podium, Steph Curry even gave him a compliment saying, hey, nice suit. Yeah, so all around fantastic game for Iggy. I do think him in the corner with no shoe, banging home that three was a pretty cool moment. He looked so comfortable. He's shoeless.
How did he lose that shoe? It like stuck to the ground.
Must be a Velcro one.
He was so calm in the corner, banging it home. I mean, it doesn't look like he's sliding around. He's doing his lateral move there too. He's comfortable, which is odd because when you flash back to Mike Miller doing it in 2013 finals, Mike Miller did not look as comfortable.
No.
Mike Miller lost this baby, his socks falling off. But he doesn't want the shoe. But the way, look, he's gingerly going. Mike Miller's sort of always gingerly going.
I was going to say.
But he's kind of just
slipped.
strolling across and bangs that home to help out his
Why
team.
do the teams go to the dude with one shoe to shoot it? Wouldn't you just say, okay, let's just try to play out this possession and leave him in the corner? And
No, it's because the defense leaves the guy with
I guess
one
so,
shoe.
I guess
Why
so.
would we play him? He's not going to get the ball back. Yeah, I mean, you know it's your night when you're knocking down threes in the
my
corner
God.
with one shoe.
Yeah.
Also a great night from a guy we hadn't seen in a long time, Maurice Spates. Had missed the last 8 games with a calf injury.
It's true.
He comes in there in that second quarter that you're talking about, Tass, when the Warriors, their bench sort of helped them get back in the game. He was huge. He goes 3 for 4 in 4 minutes. He grabbed 2 boards. He had an assist. I mean, look, this guy is not shy when it comes to shooting the basketball. He gets it. He's letting it go. He's not thinking twice. Doesn't give you a whole lot defensively, but who cares when he's knocking down the jumper and stretching the floor a little bit?
No, but Mark Jackson said on the commentary last night that Maurice Spates isn't a shot blocker, but he's a shot changer, you know, because he's a big guy.
He's a big guy,
Yeah, he's a big guy. He gets his hands up there, and you don't necessarily see what he does, but it does impact the players going into the basket there like that. But he came off the bench, and, you know, you mentioned he was confident, and he was putting it
That's
up.
who he is.
And you know, if you're any other coach, you probably think, we'll live with these, but he was knocking them down.
That was just another great move by Steve Kerr in this one. It seemed like Steve Kerr couldn't do no wrong, really, after the timeout plays as well.
Oh, yeah.
They came out and they felt like they were rushing, but these after the timeout plays, and this is mid-first quarter when they were struggling, this just kind of calmed them down.
He is a genius, Steve Kerr, because it's one thing to draw up a great play, but it's another one to get your guys to understand it and then to go out and execute it the way they have.
These are also, come on, let's give some credit to very high basketball IQ guys on this team.
but-
They really
but
are.
the
Here
thing
he's
is,
what?
again-
He knew that play was getting overplayed there.
It goes hand in hand. I mean,
It's this one, these plays though, like you're getting guys getting open looks time and time again, and this one especially towards the end of the game here. How you get Steph Curry to get a wide open, basically uncontested layup until the most amazing defense we've seen from Kyrie Irving at the end is incredible. I mean, Steve Kerr, I doubted him coming into the season. I thought with no coaching experience, I wonder how he was going to take a team that was ready to win and take them to that next level. I mean, he's done an incredible job.
He had an incredible game one. First of all, sticking with LeBron one-on-one. Also bringing that second defender in Iguodala on game one because he didn't do that in the Western Conference Final. He waited till game 3 to bring a second defender on James Harden. Klay Thompson played him for 2 straight games. So he's growing. He showed that with those couple moves. The after the timeout plays were phenomenal. I thought he was just impressive all around.
I would add one more to that. In overtime, he plays his little
ball.
trump card where he goes super small ball with Green at the 5. He didn't do it at the entire game, and he busts it out, and they go on their huge run. You start to wonder if we will see a little bit more of that with the Warriors
I think
and
now.
Kerr, and he decides to go small a little bit earlier in the game. So I'll be watching game 2.
You can afford to be a little bit more aggressive when you have fantastic players on both ends of the floor. Like you can make a play up, and if the guys are great, they go out and execute it. But again, credit to Steve Kerr because, as I say, to have no previous coaching experience and coaching the NBA, a team to this level, it really is incredible. I mean, we always allowed.
They've
Greg
won
Popovich.
80 games this year now.
Greg Popovich has done an
It's a lot.
incredible job, but he's been coaching for 20 years. At the start, Greg Popovich wasn't this great, didn't have the same players. But Steve Kerr, I mean, everyone obviously buys in, believes everything he says, and then they go out and they really work for each other.
One other little wrinkle with overtime, he threw out Festus Ezeli. He went big to win the tip, but he had his Draymond Green there to go in there to play the 5 spot as soon as the first dead ball situation. So he wanted to win
Festus
the
didn't win it either.
No, he didn't. He didn't win it either. But also, bringing his 5 off the bench,
Yep.
quote unquote, off the bench there, kind of throws off the other team. They think, hey, we're playing a traditional lineup, but then Green comes in, and it's obviously entirely different.
Look, we're going to start looking ahead to Game 2 a little bit later in the show, some things to watch for. We'll get to that in a bit. But one thing we like to do with the finals, we got the time here with the hour show, some random notes from the game. And we'll start with the pregame, and it was LeBron James rocking the turtleneck and sunglasses.
That's more than a turtleneck.
Strutting in there. Yeah, it was a super turtleneck.
Yeah.
You're right.
And we had our own Trey Kirby on the spot there.
Creeping.
Yeah, to see Bron, to see Iggy in his school suit, to see Curry. It looks like Trey's bigger than all these guys.
Speaking of Steph Curry, doing his patented shot from the tunnel before the game. Cash. He hits this.
I know, it's
He must be shooting 70% on this thing.
Also before the game, great moment with Riley Curry. Riley doing the Steph celebration, almost poking him in the eye. I got a little bit worried. Whoa. That eye is important. And then post-game, having a great time, busting it with the headphones on. It's late. Go to bed, Riley.
I hope you got this. End of the first half. Check out the guy with the fro with the nice two-hand grab. Look, he got some air there.
Yeah.
I don't know this man's name, but he looks like Cornel West.
We had a couple cool moments where LeBron really wanted to guard Steph Curry. You can see him get down in that stance. Then after a whistle, he gets down. Hey, no, you're not going by. You're not going by. It was cool seeing the MVP and the former 4-time MVP go at it.
Competitors, man.
A few random notes. If you ever have them, let us know. Hashtag the starters for Game 2. We're always watching the Twitters. Got to take a break. When we come back, I'm excited to get to this. Is a Heat-Wade breakup a real possibility? There's a lot of rumors floating around whether Wade will opt in or opt out of his contract. We'll break that down next. We're watching the starters. Welcome back to the starters. Topic we've wanted to get to for a little while now, so let's get to it right now. About a week ago, Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald broke the news that Wade and the Heat were far apart in negotiating the financial terms of their future together. Now, technically, there cannot really be an official negotiation until July 1st, and after Wade decides whether he's going to opt in or opt out of his $16 million contract for the 15-16 season. But, this is common for NBA teams to start talking about this, having conversations, and I guess, these rumors, these conversations leaked to the Miami Herald and to other sources. What do you guys think with Dwayne Wade? Do you think he will opt into the $16 million contract or opt out? What do you think he should do?
I really hope there's a little opt-out, and they negotiate that 3-year window. But he's asking for $20 million per year. I find that very difficult for
His
a guy.
sources say that, yeah.
Yeah, I find it very difficult for a guy to request that who's only playing 3/4 of the season. I mean, he had a very healthy year last year, it felt like, and he played 62 games.
Yeah.
So you can ask that from this franchise because you've done so much for them. But I think if you're only going to play 3/4 of a season, then you're going to get 3/4 of the dollar amount. So let's say 15. Let's call it at 15.
Right.
I mean, you asked for 20, but you're not going to play 82 games. We know that. He hasn't played more than 70 in 5 seasons.
And his body maintenance schedule, you don't think is going to change.
No.
We're going to say we're going to try to get you to 82. You figure he's going to stay around that same mark.
Yeah, what's interesting, though, is Dwayne Wade, he has taken a pay cut twice before to help this organization out.
For sure.
To bring in guys, to bring in free agents, and to make a great franchise and a great team, which they've obviously had a whole bunch of success there, going to all those finals and winning 2 titles. So he thinks, I feel, like, hey, I did you a favor.
Yeah.
All right. I took less money in my prime. Okay, whether or not I was a banged up player and an injured player at times, okay. But I was still fairly young. He's only going into his 13th season. Now you do me a solid. Now where's my money?
But he is an old 33.
Well,
he's 33 years of age, and we know next year he's going to be 34 in the midseason. And maybe he knows that. Maybe he knows how many more paydays do I have. And obviously, the franchise owes a lot to him.
Well,
let's make that clear.
I mean, he's won 3 championships with them, though, and he gave up that money, and it was worth it because they won the title
Right.
twice with LeBron, and they were there 4 times. So if I'm the franchise, they say, well, the sacrifice you made financially was worth it because you won. But I look at him and I think he's a proven big-time player. We know that in the playoffs he's great. And he still could provide a lot of value to a team. And I think he's this stage of his career, because he has got a lot of miles on those legs, he should look at taking a Paul Pierce type role for the Washington Wizards. Being a guy who isn't the focal point of the team, but will still be expected to deliver a lot in the playoffs. And he has to understand that if that's your role, then financially you have to take a little bit less money. It will allow the team then to chase another big name free agent.
Now let's be clear. The Miami Heat, in theory, they want him to opt in. They want him to be
Take
on the
that
books
16
for
mil.
16 million, and then we'll negotiate in the next contract because they've got Goran Dragic, who is unrestricted free agent. In a year's time, they got to figure out what to do with Hassan Whiteside, and they got at least another year to figure that out.
And they need some salary cap room for him because of the circumstances there.
That's exactly right. And, you're Pat Riley, you are the Heat, and Mickey Arison there, the owner. Like, this is a squad that they want to build winners. This is not a team that cares about making the playoffs.
No.
They want rings. They want titles. So that means going after, in theory, another big name in 2016. Like who? Oh, maybe a guy like Kevin Durant, who will be an unrestricted free agent around that time.
Yeah, and that's the way I think Dwayne Wade has to look at it. Would you rather get paid a lot of money, or would you maybe have the opportunity to play with someone like Kevin Durant and again be competing for a championship? Because I don't think he can have both in this proposed scenario where he wants all this money. I think the situation has to be that Kevin Durant, whatever he decides, he's going to sign for the team that he feels is in the strongest position to win a championship. Whether that's Oklahoma City or whoever, we'll find out. But the point I'm trying to make is that Dwayne Wade has been a fantastic player. He's been loyal to the organisation. They've, in turn, given him a great opportunity to win. But at the end of the day, it's a business. And the Miami Heat have to keep thinking. They can't get too nostalgic. If Dwayne can't perform for them throughout the course of the season as they expect him to, then they have to look for other players to come in to keep them competing for championships.
I think Dwayne Wade looks at LeBron's situation. He's been in Miami his entire career. You look at LeBron, obviously bounced around now. Isn't there a part of him that wants to be a Miami Heat lifer?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think there's a big part of that. And yeah, there might be a bigger paycheck somewhere else, offering him, larger money over a 2 to 3 year period. Because I don't think anyone's, making a 4-year offer to Wade at this point of his career. But yeah, I totally feel like you got to take a bit less money so that your team can go out and get somebody to help you get a little bit closer.
He already has taken less money, is what
Yeah.
I go back to. He's done them the favor.
Yeah.
And I know you're saying it worked out. It did. He got titles. He got more
Would you
popular.
rather another 10 million or not those chances?
Well,
to win those two titles?
I would rather, I think, if I say, hey, I'll do you a favor, you do me a favor
Yeah.
later. And I'm not saying like the Kobe Bryant type lifetime achievement, contract here. I'm not getting at that. I think what he's asking for, yes, he's injured a lot of the time and he's fallen off a little bit in terms of production. But he's not asking for a crazy amount because some people will say,
It's getting close to the Kobe contract.
some people will say, well, look, Dirk Nowitzki, Tim Duncan, those guys took lesser money despite still being great talents, like Dwayne Wade, still being able to put up great numbers, be all-stars, be on all defensive teams in Duncan's case and so on. But the difference is Dirk and Duncan, they did it later in their career.
Yeah.
Okay, they didn't do it when they were in their sort of 13, 14, 15th season. They were still getting paid $20, $19, $18 million throughout those years. That's where Wade, I think, is comparing himself to them and saying, well, first off, I already did what they're now doing. I did it earlier in my career, sort of more in my prime.
He can opt in for 16 mil. I mean, it's not that far off.
Look, I would love 16 mil. I understand.
It's
that.
actually, is it 16.5?
It's 16.1, I think.
Let's round up.
Yeah, sure.
The thing is, though, Tim Duncan, I mean, he still plays, I know they rest him, but he still plays in a higher percentage of games than Dwayne Wade plays at his age still. And again, I think it comes back to Tim Duncan sacrificed that money. But look, they won the championship last year. They were in the finals the year before. This year obviously didn't go as well for them. But the San Antonio Spurs next season are going to be one of the top teams still in the West because of the way everyone, Tony Parker sacrifices, Manu Ginobili sacrifices, Kawhi Leonard, that's the big question for them, of course, because he's got that max deal and how that will affect them going forward. But Wade is a proven competitor, a proven champion in this league, but he's now at a different stage of his career where he's no longer the guy you build around.
You wonder how much the Dragic move, where they pick him up at the trade deadline, sort of maybe ruined initial plans, initial conversations between Wade and the Heat. Like maybe there was when he signed the 2-year deal, right?
Yeah.
With the player option.
Right.
And you wonder if, okay, I'll opt out in the second year. Maybe you'll give me a first-year front-loaded contract, something big, 20 million plus, and then some sort of flexibility or lesser contracts in the year 2 or 3, so to help you guys get free agents and to rebuild this team. And if that sort of got turned on its head when they made the move for Dragic, who is now, he'll be looking at near max money.
Yeah.
And then maybe that comes into play, and of course, Deng in all these situations.
Yeah, but Wade signed last season. I mean, he only signed a year ago, so I'm not sure what he expects out of this situation. I think it would be smart for him to take the 16 mil. Then, the cap bumps up, and if you're still healthy, That's
Maybe
where
you get another
yeah,
big
that's where you
paycheck.
can make
He'll
some money.
have no short of offers. Exactly how much they'll be, probably not quite what he wants, but he'll have a lot of teams wanting to come and play on their team.
And I think he's learned. You said that maintenance plan. He's learned how to take care of his
Yeah.
body. So
We'll find out. We'll find out this summer. All right, got to take a break. When we come back, oh, baby, Trey Kirby gets into the Roracle spirit. We'll hear from TK next. Welcome back to the starters. On yesterday's show, Trey Kirby joined us live from Oakland. And as we always do at the finals, we issued Trey a challenge. Now, last night's challenge was to find Warriors fan MC Hammer and have him record a shout out to NBA TV's Vince Cellini, who we've seen do the hammer dance before. I have no idea whether Trey accomplished this feat, so let's find out right now.
What's up, guys? Unfortunately, I've got some bad news. Was not able to find MC Hammer last night. Apparently the security around him is just crazy. Luckily, however, I was able to find another Bay Area rap legend, Oakland's own E40, the Hyphy King. Blasted a quick selfie with him. He seemed pretty happy. I think we're gonna make for a tremendous rap duo, so I hope that is fair as a substitute for not finding MC Hammer. That being said, if you're looking for something more video-based, allow me to submit this in lieu of an MC Hammer Vince Cellini shout out. It's Shaquille O'Neal turning the Oracle Arena parking lot into his own private bird sanctuary.
Hello, starters in design. Birdman, Birdman. Ah, ah, ah.
that more than makes up for
I
it.
guess so.
E40 photo plus feeding seagulls.
Yeah, the E40 is nice. I like that. What are you doing, Shaq? Don't feed the birds. You don't feed
Feed
the
the
pigeons
seagulls. Yeah,
or
you don't bring 'em
seagulls,
around.
whatever it is. I can't stand people that do that. Not that I'm going to tell Shaq that, but just keep feeding him. All right. Well, last night, actually, before Trey went into the game, he hit the outside of the Oracle to see just how well Warriors fans know their Currys.
I am here outside of Oracle Arena with my new best friends.
Ramiz, Monty, Ron.
Ron, great to meet you. We're gonna play a game called Name That Curry. I will give you guys a hint on a bunch of different kinds of curry. It could be a player, a family member, a food. I mean, there's a lot of different curries out there. If you get 7 out of 10 of these curries right, I'll give you a hug.
Yeah,
It's a pretty good hug, though. I'm very good at hugging. This Thai curry is usually made with beef, is pretty light in color, and usually has potatoes, onions, and peanuts in it.
I thought this was basketball. Like a chicken yellow curry? Is that what you call it? Chicken vindaloo? No.
I was looking for Massa Man curry.
I wouldn't have gotten that. Okay.
Better known by his on-screen last name, this curry was a former Warrior in his television show Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
That's Mark Curry.
That's Mark Curry, Warriors fan and former Warrior.
That's right.
On the TV show, anyways. Best known for his days on the Hornets, this
Del
Curry.
Curry. Get out of here. Big Muggsy Bogues fan. Del Curry. Right?
He's your man.
Yep.
This Curry recently won an MVP award.
We'll say that's Steph Curry.
You think anybody will miss that one all day?
They better not.
This Curry is perhaps the most famous Curry of the year and definitely the cutest.
Riley Curry.
Oh, that's Riley.
That's Riley.
Yeah.
What an adorable little baby.
That's right. Very beautiful. A lot of personality.
I want to say, what's Mrs. Curry? What's her name?
Oh, Sonia.
Sonia Curry. She takes it actually. But the little one's cute too.
This Curry once joined Klay Thompson's brother Michael on the Santa Cruz Warriors D-League team.
Oh, nah, Stephen and I forgot his name already. Played for Duke.
Played for Duke? Also an S.
I know.
Seth Curry. Nice one. Nice job. Nice pull. All right.
Is that 7 yet?
That's close.
All
You're
right,
at
all
6.
right.
The next one you get is a hug.
All right.
You excited?
No.
It's not yellow curry, and it's the exact opposite of red curry.
Blue Curry?
Green curry?
Green curry. That's a hug.
Oh, all right.
You still got 7 out of 10. Veterans, you a hug.
Great. Thanks so much. Good Warriors. Okay. All right. Thanks, man. Take care, guys. Appreciate it. Are we going to be on TV or is that not good enough?
Thanks, guys. No, that was very good.
I like the guy struggling with Seth Curry. Sammy, Swami, Samsonite. All right, thanks, TK. When we come back, top 5 plays from Game 1, and we'll start looking ahead to Game 2 on Sunday. Back with the starters. Before we look ahead to Game 2 of the finals on Sunday, let's look back to Game 1 with the top 5 plays from Game 1. Give me some Mozgov, Tass.
Well, we'll start with a little bittersweet number 5. This is Kyrie Irving. What a defensive performance he had.
Get out of here.
Including a great swat on Steph, showing his team that he was all business to start this game.
At number 4, J.R. Smith at the end of the second quarter. Going deep.
He didn't know there was only 2 seconds left in the clock.
Come on,
Put
Lee.
it up
Come
anyway.
on, Lee. He's well aware. That was his third 3, I believe, of the first half.
Yes.
Here comes some Maserati. Timofey Mozgov. He had 4 dunks in this game. We're going to show you 3 of them. Do they call him Maserati because he's low to the ground, like the sports car? Perhaps, but he got up.
Man, he was dunking everything.
He was. He was showing him who's bass. Again, 5 baskets, 4 of them dunks, and we gave you 3 of them because 3 were great.
That one didn't even look like it
That
was
was
him.
a weird one, yeah.
It's on 2 guys.
Yeah.
At number 2, Andre Iguodala with a little defense, turning it into offense, going the other way. A little stutter step, woo, throws it down. What a game from Andre Iguodala. I'm actually still upset that he got robbed in the dunk contest. That dunk contest, he should have won that.
Yeah, Nate Robinson won it.
Yeah, still upset about
Yeah,
that.
fair enough.
I can't sleep at night.
I think Iggy's still upset about it too.
I'm still upset the Raptors drafted Rafael Araujo over him. At number 1, Kyrie Irving again.
Oh,
20 seconds left on the clock. A huge block in the 4th quarter to save the game with his fingertip.
with his offhand as well. I
As
think
well.
that replaces Akeem Olajuwon
Oh.
and Rod Strickland as my favorite block in the playoffs.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, that
Wow.
is incredible.
The week off helped him grow that fingernail to get that block. Just
And now he's out for the rest of the postseason.
right, yeah.
Yeah, bummer about that. All right, let's look ahead to Game 2. A couple things in particular of what to sort of watch for. You see it there. Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, Lee. You don't need to stay up past midnight, Lee. I know you're
Love
happy.
the 8 p.m. tips.
Unless it goes to triple overtime. So, Tass, let's start with you. What is something to watch for in Game 2?
After a 44-point performance by Bron, do the Warriors dare change their coverage on him? Do they change it just because he had a fantastic game? Does Steve Kerr stick to his guns and play him straight up? Actually, former Kings coach Mike Malone in here on NBA TV this week, and he joined us, and he talked about when he was an assistant coach with the Cleveland Cavaliers, when LeBron went off in 2007, if you remember, in that Eastern Conference final, when he got over the top of the Pistons, he had that huge Game 5. He scored 48, 29 of the final 30 points.
Yeah.
And they played him one-on-one. And then Flip Saunders of the Pistons decided, okay, we got a double. But that's when Boobie Gibson went off in Game 6. LeBron had 20 in that game. Boobie Gibson had 31 to give them the conference final championship. So I don't think there's a chance that Steve Kerr changes his defense, even though Bron was basically unstoppable.
I don't know why you would. Even Curry, I think, after the game, quoted as saying something along the lines, look, we know LeBron's going to dominate the ball. This is our game plan, though. Let him go for 40 or 50. Just stay at home on all of the other guys.
Have to.
It worked. I mean, yeah, you got 44, but in the end, they got the W. What about you, Lee? What are you watching in Game 2?
We talked before this series that we're going to need to see at least one J.R. Smith game. With Kyrie Irving out, we absolutely have to see at least one, maybe more than that. So why not with Game 2? I mean, we've seen what he can do. You know, he just needs to get a couple of shots up, get a couple of looks, and he can knock them down. I mean, this is what JR does. You know, he just goes out there, he believes every shot is a good shot, and if he gets a couple going...
There were times in Game 1 where I thought we
Oh, yeah.
might be getting that.
It
JR.
looked like it.
And the thing is, the importance of him when he does knock these down is then perhaps Steve Kerr has to look at a different defense on LeBron James, because you know LeBron James will be going to him as much as he can.
Yeah.
And if JR, like he did against the Atlanta Hawks in round 1, can hit 8, then all of a sudden the Cavaliers have a chance to win. But they're going to need that from him pretty much from the start.
Yeah, the Cavs shot something like 15 for 43 on uncontested looks. They got looks.
Yeah.
They just were knocking them down. The Warriors on the flip side, over 50% on their uncontested shots. They just shot the ball better there in Game 1. Something I'm watching, especially now with the Kyrie Irving injury news and him being out for the postseason, is the bench production. Okay, so you start with the Cavs. You know Dellavedova is going to be in the starting lineup. This Cavs team, I mean, they already had no bench. Now Delly's in there, taking Irving's, 30-plus minutes, 40 minutes likely in this game. Who does he turn to? Who does Coach Blatt turn to? I mean, are we going to be forced to see some Mike Miller, some Sean Marion, one of these old vets that hasn't seen a lot of time? You almost think he's going to have to.
He has to, for sure.
And then on the flip side, the Warriors, can they continue to get production? The second quarter was big. We talked about it. A lot of those bench guys came in there and they erased that deficit that the Cavs had built up in the first quarter. The strength in numbers is their whole T-shirt.
Yeah.
It's their playoff mantra. I mean, it's a reality with this squad.
Yeah.
10 guys played in game one, all 10 scored, all contributing. So
They're throwing them Barbosas.
a couple things to watch. Yeah, nice punt. Get it
Yeah,
in there.
why not?
Show's almost over. When we come back, Lee's very solid play of the night. Back with the starters, right into Lee's very solid play of the night. Lee.
One of the beautiful ones that drawn up by Steve Kerr, and just watch how not everyone gets involved, but most of the players do, and they end up with a Harrison Barnes wide open three. Critical moment of the first quarter too, because we mentioned they didn't have a lot going, and that's one way to break the drought, and that's what I call a very solid play.
Sure was.
Hadn't seen those thumbs in a while. It's been so long. It's been so long. One thing we also like to do in the finals, we did this last year, was award a fan of the night. You know, someone in the crowd that caught our eye. We're actually giving the fan of the night to Guy Fieri. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Guy Fieri. I don't care for Flavortown. Never gone there. But he is very happy. And you know, he seems pretty pumped to be at the game and to see Steph Curry there taking shots in pregame. So, a fan of the game, a fan of the shot.
He's not a Fieri weather fan either. He's there a lot of times for the Warriors game.
Nice.
We recorded an hour-long drop podcast.
Turn that sideways.
With 1,000 horrible puns like that, if you're in the mood for that. Earlier today on Friday, we talk a whole lot more about Game 1 of the finals. Trey joined us early in the morning on the West Coast there from Oakland to talk about his experience at the game. And we got into a debate about the most dominant NBA video game characters of all time. And made quite the case for Tom Chambers in a 1991 Sega game there. Yeah, so check that out. That's up on iTunes and the blog. We'll be back here at 6 p.m. Eastern on Sunday.
Thanks for joining us, folks. That was a great pun, by the way. And remember, the Reuben sandwich is making a comeback.
Brace the night, people.